In the quiet settlement of Arboro Hills, a woman's scream pierced the morning air. Mama Lomi dropped her clay pot, water splashing across the dusty ground as she ran toward the market square. Her daughter Zina stood in the center of a growing crowd, pointing and laughing at an elderly man who had fallen with his basket of yams scattered around him. No one else was laughing. Mira, Zina's stepsister, was already kneeling beside the old man, helping him gather his produce with gentle hands and quiet apologies. "That one will bring shame to your house," a neighbor whispered to Mama Lomi, not bothering to specify which daughter she meant. Everyone already knew. This wasn't how things were supposed to turn out. Mama Lomi had loved both girls equally from the day she married Mira's father, a kind man who had lost his wife too young. She remembered holding baby Mira for the first time, feeling her own daughter Zina's tiny hand grip her wrapper as she did. 2 daughters, she had thought. 2 blessings. She had worked her fingers raw to feed them, washed clothes until her knuckles bled, farmed under the scorching sun until her back screamed in protest. Equal love. Equal sacrifice. Yet somewhere between childhood and now, the 2 girls had walked into completely different souls. Mira stood and helped the old man to his feet, her voice soft. "Please forgive my sister, Papa. She doesn't mean it." But Zina did mean it. She always did. That evening, Mama Lomi sat on the worn mat in her small room, the weight of 15 years pressing down on her shoulders. The mud walls seemed closer than usual, the single kerosene lamp casting shadows that danced like questions she couldn't answer. She called both girls inside. "Sit down, my daughters," she said, her voice carrying a tremor that made Mira's heart skip. Zina sighed loudly, examining her fingernails with theatrical boredom. Mama Lomi's eyes glistened in the lamplight. "I have raised you both with every strength God gave me. I have nothing left to give." She paused, letting the words settle like dust. "You are women now. It is time for you to make your own way." Mira felt her throat tighten. "Mama, what do you mean?" "There is opportunity in Domoji Market Town. Work. Life. A chance to become something." Mama Lomi reached out, touching both their faces. "But listen to me carefully. Wherever your feet take you, carry the goodness of your heart with you. Money can be lost. Beauty fades. But a good heart, that is currency that never devalues." Zina rolled her eyes. "Finally. I've been dying to leave this backwards place." Mira said nothing, but tears rolled silently down her cheeks as she gripped her mother's calloused hand. 3 days later, the sisters set out before dawn. The forest path stretched ahead of them like a question mark, mysterious and full of possibility. Mira carried a small bundle of her belongings and the weight of her mother's prayers. Zina walked ahead, complaining about the heat, the distance, the unfairness of having to walk instead of ride. "Must you be so slow?" Zina snapped, turning back to glare at Mira. "At this rate, all the good positions will be taken before we even arrive." "I'm sorry," Mira said automatically, quickening her pace despite the pain in her feet. By midday, they reached a fork in the road. The left path was shaded by ancient trees, cool and inviting, with bird songs floating through the green canopy. The right path blazed with sunlight, wide and busy with the distant sounds of voices and movement. Ine didn't hesitate. "I'm taking this one. You can follow if you want, but try to keep up." She strode down the bright path without a backward glance. Mira stood at the fork for a long moment, feeling something shift in the air around her. She couldn't explain it, but it felt like a door closing and another one opening. She chose the shaded path, walking forward with steady, humble steps. Neither sister knew that both paths led to the same destination. Neither understood that the real journey had nothing to do with the road beneath their feet. Mira arrived at the Domoji Market Town as the sun began its descent. The entrance she came through opened onto a quieter section of town, where older buildings leaned against each other like tired friends. Near a crumbling wall, she saw an old woman sitting on a worn mat, her body bent with age and poverty. The woman's clothes were faded beyond recognition of their original color, and her eyes carried the kind of emptiness that comes from days without food. "Please," the old woman croaked, reaching out a trembling hand. "Just a small morsel. Anything." Mira looked at her own small bundle. She had so little herself, barely enough to last until she found work. But those eyes. That hunger. She knelt down and unwrapped her cloth, revealing the small portion of momwa and gari her mother had packed. "Please, take it all," Mira said, pressing the food into the woman's hands along with her water god. The old woman's eyes widened. "Child, you've given me everything. What will you eat?" "God will provide," Mira replied simply. "You need it more than I do." The old woman studied her face for a long moment, something unreadable flickering in those ancient eyes. "What is your name, child?" "Mira." "Mira. I am Auntie Wazala. Come, you cannot sleep on the streets. You will stay with me tonight." Meanwhile, Zina had arrived at the same town through the brighter entrance, where market stalls sprawled in chaotic abundance. She too had encountered Auntie Wazala earlier, when the old woman had approached her for help carrying water. "Get away from me, you dirty beggar," Zina had spat. "Don't you dare touch my clothes with your filthy hands." Now, as evening fell and no one would hire her and she had nowhere to sleep, Zina found herself searching for any shelter. She spotted the old woman's small hut on the outskirts. "You," Zina said, not quite a question. "I need a place to stay. Just for a while, until I find proper work." Wazala looked at her, seeing everything and revealing nothing. "Come in." The months that followed revealed everything about who the two sisters truly were. Mira woke before dawn each day. She swept Wazala's compound until not a single grain of dust remained. She fetched water from the well, balancing heavy pots on her head without complaint. She cooked meals that filled the small hut with warmth and the smell of care. She washed Wazala's clothes with such gentleness that even the oldest fabrics seemed renewed. In the afternoons, she planted flowers around the hut, flowers that seemed to bloom brighter than normal, as if they could feel her kindness in their roots. "Mira," Wazala would say, "you don't have to work so hard. Mama Wazala, you've given me shelter when I had nothing. This is the least I can do." In the other hut, Zina slept until noon. When she finally emerged, she would demand food without a word of thanks. She took Wazala's coins from the hiding place she'd discovered, using them to buy trinkets at the market. She broke Wazala's clay pots and blamed mice. She shouted insults at neighbors who greeted her. "Please, Zina," Wazala begged one evening. "Please try to show some kindness." "Kindness?" Zina laughed bitterly. "Kindness is for fools. In this world, you take what you can get, or you get nothing at all." One afternoon, as Mira cleaned beneath an old cooking pot in Wazala's hut, something caught the light. She reached down and pulled out a crystal that glowed with an inner fire, brilliant beyond anything she'd ever seen. Her breath caught. This could feed a family for years. This could change everything. Mira held it for only a moment before placing it back carefully where she'd found it. "Mama Wazala," she called out, "I found something under your pot. I've left it there for you." That same day, in the other hut, Zina made the same discovery. Her eyes went wide with greed and calculation. She pocketed the crystal immediately, her heart racing with visions of wealth and escape. Finally, she whispered to herself. Finally, something good. The spirits were watching. The test was complete. A year had passed when Mira came to Wazala with tears in her eyes. "Mama Wazala, I think I must return home. My mother is getting older, and I worry about her." Wazala stood slowly, and as she did, something changed. The bent back straightened. The wrinkled face seemed to shimmer. The shabby clothes glowed with a light that shouldn't exist in the physical world. "Mira, child," Wazala said, her voice now carrying the weight of ages, "do you know who I am?" Mira fell to her knees, trembling. "I am a guardian of the ancient paths. I test the hearts of those who pass through my gates. You, sweet child, have passed in ways I have not seen in decades." Wazala reached down and lifted Mira to her feet. She pressed the crystal into Mira's hands. "Your kindness has opened doors in realms you cannot yet see. From this day forward, your words will bring comfort and blessing wherever you go. What you plant will flourish. What you touch will thrive. This crystal is but a symbol of what already lives in your heart." Mira wept, overcome. "Go now," Wazala said gently. "Your destiny awaits." In the other hut, Wazala's voice was different when Zina announced she was leaving. "The crystal," Wazala said simply. "Return what you took." Zina's face hardened. "I don't know what you're talking about." "The crystal you found and stole. Return it now." "I never took anything from you, you crazy old woman. You're lucky I stayed as long as I did in this miserable place." The air in the hut grew cold. Wazala's form began to shift, growing taller, more terrible. Her voice dropped to something that resonated from the earth itself. "As your mouth sowed pain, your mouth will harvest pain. Every cruel word you've spoken has been recorded. Every kindness you refused has been noted. You chose your path with eyes wide open. Now walk it." Zina laughed nervously and fled into the night, clutching her bag, still believing she'd won. The fork in the road appeared before them both again, as if the forest itself had been waiting. Mira and Zina met in the exact spot where they'd separated a year before. "Mira." Zina's voice carried surprise. Then she noticed Mira's bag, glowing softly. "What do you have in there?" Mira smiled sadly. "Blessings, sister. Just blessings." Zina grabbed at her own bag eagerly, ready to show off her stolen treasure. But when she opened it, rats poured out, squealing and biting. Dust clouds erupted, choking her. The coins she'd hoarded crumbled into rust in her hands. And the crystal, her precious crystal, had transformed into something that burned her fingers with cold fire. "No!" Zina screamed. "No, no, no!" But the forest offered no comfort. The path offered no mercy. The spirits had spoken. They returned to Arboro Hills separately. Mira walked with steady grace, her bag of multiplied crystals growing lighter with every blessing she gave away. Word spread quickly of the daughter who had returned with wisdom and a gentle spirit that could calm any storm. Mama Lomi wept with joy when she saw Mira, holding her close. "My daughter. My good, good daughter." Mira used her blessings to start a garden that became legendary. People traveled from distant villages just to sit in her presence, to hear her speak words that seemed to heal wounds they didn't know they carried. She helped her mother renovate their home, fed the hungry, and never spoke of herself with pride. But when Zina returned, she found that her curse had followed her home. She tried to greet neighbors, but insults fell from her mouth like poison. She attempted to apologize to her mother, but the words twisted into accusations. She wanted to change, desperately wanted to change, but her mouth had become a weapon she could no longer control. Everything she said brought pain, chaos, destruction. "Please," Zina begged Mira one evening, finding her alone in the garden. "Please help me. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." But even those words came out wrong, sharp-edged and cutting. Mira looked at her sister with deep sadness. "Sister, I cannot undo what you chose. But I can pray for you. And I will, every day until my last breath." Years passed. Mira's garden flourished, her life became a testimony, her very presence a blessing to all who knew her. People spoke of her as if she carried light in her hands. Zina lived at the edge of the village, feared and avoided, her days an echo of the cruelty she had once dealt so freely. Some said they saw her weeping at night, fighting against the curse that had become her shadow. In the end, the village of Arboro Hills became a living story, a whispered lesson passed from mother to daughter, from father to son. Two girls, raised by the same woman, given the same chances, faced with the same test. One chose kindness. One chose cruelty. And the world, in its ancient and mysterious justice, reflected back to each of them exactly what they had planted. If this story touched your heart, hit that subscribe button and share it with someone who needs to hear this truth today. Drop a comment below telling us which sister you related to most, and don't forget to like this video. In a world that celebrates cruelty, dare to choose kindness. Because in the end, what you plant is what you harvest, and blessings grow where goodness lives.